Coming up, meow. Syracuse tries to tame a couple big cats. The Clemson Tigers and Pitt Panthers are on the prowl. Will the Q's claw its way past one of these NCAA tournament contenders or end up getting scratched?
And it's no secret that Ian has a good meow, and Syracuse women's basketball has dropped off a cliff this season. But this past week, Felicia Leggett-Jack got more fired up than she has been all season. We'll show you what went down against number 20 NC State.
Over on the turf, it's been 12 years since Syracuse men's lacrosse made championship weekend, and another 4 since the Orange won it all. But at number 2, Syracuse has its highest preseason ranking since 2013. Does our crew think SU brings home its 12th national title? Find out on the bench. Thanks so much for joining us, Ian Nicholas, alongside Andrew Selover. And Andrew, we're going to hear from some of our men's lacrosse beat reporters later in the show about their thoughts on this championship team or potential championship team. But let's start with you.
Sure.
Do you think this is finally the year, first year since 2009, Gary Gait and company in year 4, get back to the Natty and win it?
I'm making no promises on winning a national championship.
Come on.
I do think they will make it back to championship weekend. And Gary Gait
hot take.
He's been adamant that this program is not back until they do that. And so I do think they get back there. Do they win it all? Probably not.
Were you surprised last year they came up short to Denver in the Elite Eight?
No, I thought that was kind of on par with preseason expectations. They had good talent, but at the end of the day, still needing a Dodger on that attacking line.
We'll see if they find it. You can't change your personnel now, but now we're going to change it up on you guys, show you our headlines of the week. The Syracuse football schedule was released, and the reviews are not kind. ACC Network analyst Eric McClain called it, quote, the hardest in the country. That's because the Orange face 4 college football playoff teams all away from the Dome. Only one of Syracuse's 12 opponents didn't make a bowl game. One of those teams being North Carolina. And Andrew, that should be a fun one. Halloween Friday, and a certain coach is going to be trotting those sidelines.
Yeah, you want to guess Bill Belichick's outfit for that game?
I mean, cut-off sweater.
Has
no
to
doubt.
be. Has to be, right? How about starting the season at Tennessee in terms of on the road? That one's actually in Atlanta. Should be a tough challenge against a more experienced quarterback in Nico Iamaleava. For Syracuse lacrosse, we talked about it, season on the horizon. Men's team just 4 days away from opening day. Women are 10 days away from kicking off their campaign, and both teams honored in the preseason by USA Lacrosse. For the men's side, 8 players were honored as preseason All-Americans. Joey Spolina on the first team, Michael Leo, Billy Dwan second teamers, Sammy English on the third team, and honorable mentions Owen Hiltz, Finn Thompson, Michael Grace, and Riley Figueres, Olivia Adamson on the second team, and Emma Ward on the third team for the women's squad.
Back to the gridiron, Syracuse hopes it has a future All-American in Jarius Rogers, the 4-star edge rusher verbally committed to the Orange. Rogers gives Syracuse its second 4-star in next year's class, alongside O-lineman Javion Cooper. The Jacksonville native picked the Orange over schools like Notre Dame, SMU, and Florida State. Only 2 schools have more 2026 commits than Syracuse, Oregon and Texas A&M. Really solid competition there. Fran Brown's 2026 class looking good, but let's go back to the hardwood because it is basketball season, and over there, Syracuse men's team, well, it had its toughest road test yet, and that was on Wednesday when the Orange went down to play Clemson, where they hadn't won in 8 years. And Andrew, remind me, what round of the NCAA tournament did Clemson make last year?
Elite Eight, lost to Bama.
Where were you when you watched that game?
Probably with you, I guess.
You got it right, Andrew. That's why you're my best buddy.
Boom, baby.
Let's see how it shook up. Syracuse, Clemson, not Alabama on the other side for the Tigers this time around, but some flames in the house, packed house, military appreciation night, and the fans, military, non-military, they had some fun early on. Ian Shefflin was having some fun. 2-hand jam. He's the guy who broke out for this team in March Madness a year ago, but J.J. Starling abusing the chef on the other end. He had a game-high 25 points, but the problem, Nobody else on the Orange scored. Lampkin stuffed by Victor Lakin. And it's a 19-point Tigers lead as we go into the second half, and it only grows. Chauncey Wiggins, no relation to Andrew. He makes the three. Andrew Wiggins, that is, not Andrew Selover. Wiggins on the break, taking advantage.
Either.
Yes, no relation there either. Wiggins and company taking advantage of one of 14 Syracuse turnovers on the game. The Tigers led by as much as 23 in this one. Syracuse plays well in the final 10 minutes. It doesn't matter. 14-point victory for the Orange. And Andrew, a lot of problems in this one. We already talked about turnovers, but without Donnie Freeman for a 5th straight game, not great down low either.
Well, it's not great down low, but you mentioned nobody to supplement the offense other than J.J. Starling. He goes for 25, but I mean, where are the points going to come from? You got to score if you want to win basketball games. And to be honest, Syracuse just didn't have enough offense in that one. So for the Clemson Tigers, they did not need those fire flames at the start to heat up. They were red hot going into the win over Syracuse. But the Orange's next opponent, Pittsburgh, not red hot. In fact, the Tigers were losers of 4 straight headed into a matchup at home for Syracuse this Saturday. Which team could get off that losing stretch? Let's find out. Jeff Capel against Adrian Autry, and this a Jeff Capel-led squad that has been dancing and prancing over the last few years, not headed into this one. He had not beaten Adrian Autry. They went 0-2 against the Orange last year, and Syracuse off to a good start. Lucas Taylor, the layup. Orange up by 9 early on, but then Jalen Lowe gets the and 1 over Taylor. It's a 1-point ball game at the break. In the second half, more of that guy. Jalen Lowe takes it by Jair Davis. He gets another and 1. And Jalen Lowe was the guy all night for Pitt. Eddie Lampkin was the guy on the boards for either team. 23 rebounds for Big Eddie down low. He gets the putback there. And that was the most in 30 years for a Syracuse player on the glass. Still, for Syracuse, it was not going to be enough. Syracuse run down the floor in the late stages. Jalen Lowe leads the offense there. Chris Bell tries to fire the Orange back into it, but Syracuse did not have enough firepower, and they fall by 4 to Pittsburgh. So Syracuse's Eddie Lampkin in the loss. He still hammers the glass. 23 rebounds in, and you can see that puts him in good company.
Yeah, when asked after the game, and like you said, that good company, Derek Coleman, the other 44, known pretty well in Syracuse history, he ties him there for 3rd. After the game, though, Adrian Autry, unfortunately, didn't really care. He said, well, if you ask Eddie, a lot of those rebounds just fell to him. A lot of the time, it was 2nd or 3rd chances. But still, that is an unbelievable number, and he has been a double-double machine since return of the new year. Lampkin, not the only guy to make history on the hardwood over the last week. Unfortunately, the Syracuse women's team, they made bad history. It's worst loss of a Felicia Leggett-Jack era at Boston College. Find out how the Orange responded against a top 20 foe when we come back.
It's not that hard.
My big man fingers are having a problem with these little tiny buttons.
Whoa, watch it there. Your blood pressure's gonna go through the roof.
Tell me about it. I'm trying to learn how to get it down. Instead, it keeps going up.
High blood pressure can increase the risk for heart attack or stroke. Learn how to keep yours at a healthy range.
Ever hear a voice command? Just say text barbershop to 97779.
That's not what I said.
Just give me that. Now my blood pressure's up.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
Back here on the bench, Andrew Selover, Ian Nicholas. This guy wants to toss questions my way. I'm going to pull the old Uno reverse card on him.
Oh,
question
love that
coming
game.
your way. Syracuse women's basketball taking on NC State this week. You remember the last matchup?
It was one of the final games of last regular season, one of the last great acts for Alyssa Latham before she decided to skip town.
Yeah, went to overtime down in Raleigh, and this one, Syracuse not looking pretty headed into the matchup at 1-6 in ACC play. Meanwhile, the Wolfpack, they've got a good squad again. Top 20 in the nation for NC State. Didn't really matter early on, though. Syracuse on its home floor trying to bounce back in style after you mentioned that horrible loss at Boston College. Isabel Verajao doing it down low in the first quarter. Orange up 9 at the end of that first 10 minutes. And then Verajao stepping back, hitting it from deep. 10-point lead for Syracuse on a ranked NC State team at the break. But the Wolfpack would bring their A game in the second half, and they would try and get themselves back into this ball game. It starts with Sanaya Rivers setting up the offense. Zamaria Jones knocking down the three. It's a 3-point game at the end of the third quarter. And in the fourth quarter, after the Wolfpack had trailed all day, they take the lead in the final 2 minutes on Syracuse, and they prevail as Felicia Leggett-Jack's team cannot quite hold on to that lead. And before the final buzzer, Felicia Leggett-Jack is fed up. She loses her mind here. She loses her cool, and the cooler had belonged to Isabel Verajao. Had to hold her back in the 8-point loss. More from Leggett-Jack after the game.
No matter how bad it looks, no matter how bad the road may seem, you know, my mom always said the darkest hour is just before dawn. Dawn hasn't come yet, but we're still fighting hard to figure out what's around that corner. And one thing I know in that locker room I was just in, they're all still in. They're all still fighting for Syracuse University, women's basketball here, and the right for people to see that they are fighters.
While Coach Jack's team fought, I'll push back on one thing. She said dawn's around the corner. Feels more like dusk. At Clemson over the weekend, Syracuse aimed to avoid its worst start to a conference slate this century. Would the Sun come out to play in South Carolina? 2 sets of highs, 2 trips to Little John Coliseum. Hopefully a better result for the women's team than the men's team. We'll start in the second quarter. Orange lead, 23-16. Kyra Wood, she'd finish with 16 and 10 in this one. Good to have her back in the lineup after she missed time earlier this month. 3-ball for Maddie Cluso, just a 2-point game at the break. And in the third quarter, the Tigers not going away. If at first you don't succeed, you know this story for Tessa Miller, who gets the and 1-point game. We go to the fourth quarter. Is a Verajao kick out. Maddie Potts made her first career start, and she did well. 13 points for the freshman. But when you need a big bucket down the stretch, you go to the senior, Kyra, with the layup off a glass. 6-point lead for the Orange, 5 minutes to play, and one more big woman bucket. There's Isabel Verajao with the dagger. Syracuse by 12, Adam Hipsky.
After Thursday's loss to NC State, things looked bleak for Syracuse women's basketball. The Orange led for over 3/4 of the game before falling behind late and dropping to 1-7 in ACC play. The Cuse took an unwavering belief into today's matchup with Clemson, and the Orange prevailed, taking down the Tigers 67-55 inside the Little John Coliseum. And for SU head coach Felicia Leggett-Jack, it was a simple 2-ingredient recipe for the win.
Aggressive composure. Be aggressive, but don't lose your composure. We almost lost it a couple of times down the stretch in this game, and we had to remind them we're not too high. And same with me. I got to not lose my composure.
Syracuse has plenty of momentum to take into the month of February after picking up its first road win in league play. The Cuse takes on Virginia inside the Dome next Sunday. Tip-off between the Orange and Cavaliers is slated for noon. Reporting from the Little John Coliseum in Clemson, South Carolina, Adam Hipsky, Citrus TV.
Andrew, if the Orange want to beat Virginia and win a few more ACC games down the stretch, it'd be great if they got these kind of team contributions every night.
Yeah, it feels like Syracuse has really struggled to find points other than Georgia Woolley. You talked about on the men's side, J.J. Starling needs support. On the women's side, Woolley needs support, especially when Kyra Wood was out. That is a big addition back to the lineup out of the concussion protocol. And you see what she does, double-double. Now, can the Orange keep it rolling? We'll find out. And after the break, we'll also find out what our 3 men's lacrosse beat reporters are predicting for the 2025 season. A couple guests in the studio, and we'll find out how they think the Orange fare this year.
If you're buzzed and doing this, to make yourself feel okay to drive,
ZWX.
you're not okay to drive.
YGKLVW. Regular you.
You've messed up your son's haircut.
Mom?
Do you A, try to fix it?
Like it never happened.
B, work with what you got? Or C, show solidarity?
Thank you, baby.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Halfway down, halfway to go here on the bench. Andrew Selover, Ian Nicholas. Let's talk some lax because we have made it to lacrosse season. For Syracuse basketball fans, probably feels about time that we get to lacrosse season with the way the programs are performing. Men's lacrosse starts this week. This Saturday against Jacksonville is the season opener. We've got quite the crew to cover it this year. John Boccio, Josh Richardson, and Dan Shalam. Boy,
I don't know
quite the mugshots we got going here on the screen. No, they didn't die. Instead, they're about to join us here inside the studio to predict the season. And we're going to start with Mr. John Boccio and what he thinks ahead of the 2025 campaign.
Thanks, guys. Syracuse men's lacrosse, a really grueling schedule for this upcoming season. Let's break it down. We start off win, win, win. Syracuse wins each of its first three. Jacksonville, Vermont, Towson. Towson, a sort of tough test, but knocked them off in the first round of the NCAA tournament last year. They'll be fine. Go down to College Park, another win for Syracuse. Terps lose a lot of talent into this upcoming season. Harvard, another win, a good ranked program, but Syracuse just a lot more to offer. You go over all the way to Utah, another win for Syracuse, dogged them in the Dome last year. Over to Hopkins, a big win for SU in that one, a game that people aren't too sure about. Manhattan, another win. Colgate, another win. Virginia, another win down in Charlottesville. UVA, a pretty solid program, and it was a close game last year, but I think Syracuse still has it. Notre Dame will be SU's first loss of the season. I mean, they're everybody's preseason favorite, looking for a three-peat for this upcoming season. Then we get over to Cornell. This is the game that I want to highlight. The Big Red, very good this past season, and now heading into this year, very good as well. CJ Kerr's second on the Tewaaraton watch list. Cornell, a team that finished top 3 in goals per game last year. However, I think Syracuse still goes on to win this game down on Long Island. 12 players call that place home. Duke, another win, lose a bunch of depth, and UNC finishing out the regular season with another victory. Syracuse 13-1 in the regular season. ACC tournament time. They get eliminated in the championship of the ACC tournament to none other than Notre Dame. Tough to beat a team twice, but the Fighting Irish can do it. Over to the NCAA tournament, I think Syracuse goes out in the semifinals, back to championship weekend for the first time since 2013, but ultimately they're going to need an extra year of development. That's my prediction.
So good, not great from John. And again, here are his predictions. 13-1, runner-up in ACCs, and then Final Four for the first time since 2013. Are they really only losing one game in the regular season?
I mean, they don't call him Bull Boccio for nothing. He's got him going 13-1 right there. That's pretty good. But
so he didn't botch it.
Some are saying that. We'll find out at the end of the regular season if he's right. But pretty bold in the regular season. I feel like that's about average for the postseason. That's kind of as expected, maybe.
Well, not lately.
Yeah,
not lately for Syracuse.
We'll find out.
Let's see how bold Josh Richardson. How do you feel?
Thanks. You just heard from John about his season prediction. Now let's give mine. Jacksonville, Vermont, Towson, all wins for Syracuse. Here's the first loss that I have. Maryland down in College Park. Maryland not returning the talent like it did last year, but still a top 5 team in the country. The Terps got the better of the Orange in the Dome last year, and SU is going to have the same exact fate down in College Park this year. Harvard, Utah, both wins. John Hopkins, there's the loss at home. The only loss at home I have for the Orange this year. It was tight in a neutral site last year. Hopkins only a 1-goal loss to SU, and this time, the early season struggles happen again, and SU loses at home to Hopkins. Manhattan, Colgate, Virginia, all wins. Notre Dame, there's going to be a win for Syracuse. The upset of the season for the Orange. Home crowd is going to rally around them. It's going to be a nice win on the back half of the schedule to tally in right into Cornell at a neutral site. Another win for Syracuse, really dominating the second half of the season to lead us into Duke down in Durham, a rematch of the semifinals of the ACC tournament last year. Duke held Syracuse to the lowest goal total of the season. That's not good. Now, Syracuse this very well could be a trap game coming off of Notre Dame and Colgate. It's going to take an A-plus effort for Syracuse to win. I still think they get it done. And then North Carolina also going to be a win for the Orange to end the season. 12-2 at the end of the regular season as we move into postseason play. Syracuse going to win the ACC tournament. Goes through Notre Dame again, gets the win again. Then you can't say the same for the NCAA tournament. It's going to be a loss in championship weekend to Notre Dame. Again, with how the seeding's going to work, they're going to face off 3 times this year, and the Irish are going to get the better of the Orange. A championship weekend appearance, but it's not going to be enough.
Pretty topsy-turvy there from Josh, including a loss at home to Hopkins. That's going to be a fun one. Get it back on campus here at Syracuse. 2 programs that were advertised as being back last year, and he picks them to win the ACC, but we've got both of them having semifinal exits in the tournament. You think Dan's going to change it up on us?
You know, look at that guy. He just seems optimistic.
All right, let's find out, Dan.
All right, guys, I think that this prediction is going to be the most ambitious out of all of them. First 3 games stay the same. Maryland, that's going to be a win. SU hasn't won down in College Park in the regular season since 1983. Maryland losing a lot of talent. SU is going to get the win. Everything else staying standard. We're going to move over to Virginia. This is the game that I want to highlight. McCabe Millen ranked 16 by Inside Lacrosse coming into this season. But Virginia doesn't have their 3 5-star recruits. They're all redshirting, all hurt. This could be a big momentum builder here for Syracuse. If you look at the way the schedule is built, easy game, hard game. Easy game, hard game. This could be a momentum builder for Syracuse. If you take this one, easy game here, win, and then I think it comes to an end here with Duke because you get into this kind of flow of these easy games building up to a hard contest. Syracuse lets its guard down against Duke. That's a loss right here. The Orange will finish the season 12-2. Let's move over to the postseason now. ACC tournament, I think you fall in the championship. But, hey, you win the NCAA tournament. If this is what it's all about, this team is experienced veteran. This is the year to do it under Gary Gate with Michael Gresh on that defensive side of things. Andy and Ian, Syracuse is going to be partying like it's 2009.
Dan promised ambition, and he gives it to us. Champions. How about that?
I think that's funny. Worst regular season record, but that's not what matters. It matters if you're battle tested in the regular season, maybe you can go all the way in the postseason.
We'll see if the Orange have the ambition to excel all the way to a national championship. Should be a fun season to watch. Those 3 will have your coverage all season long. When we return, we've got you covered with the plays and the performers of the week. We'll stop by Drumlins even to check on the start of the tennis season.
You can never have sex without.
It's not something you buy.
Or something you take.
In fact, there's only one way to get it.
It has to be given to you, freely.
It's consent.
Because sex without it isn't sex.
It's rape. Consent.
If you don't get it, you don't get it.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Welcome back to On the Bench. We're about to close up shop. Ian Nicholas alongside Andrew Selover. But before that, like we do every week, we got to tell you who our performers of the week are. And let's start on the hardwood, where we have been focusing a lot this show, and specifically with the women's basketball team and big Kyra Wood. Coming back from a concussion earlier in the season, Kyra was dominant against NC State with 14-9, regardless of the result. She was great. And then on the road, you see the highlights against Clemson, 16-11 overall, averaging 15-10 on the week. Coach Felicia Leggett-Jack has always said that Kyra has had this in her. It was nice to see her do it at really a do-or-die moment in Syracuse's season against Clemson over the weekend.
Yeah, we mentioned, let's see if Kyra Wood and company can turn the corner and start to find a rhythm here toward the back half of ACC play. One team we haven't talked about yet, but I promised you a drop into Drumlins to check on the start of the tennis season. First 3 matches this week, and Nelly Knezkova was impressive. From Czech Republic to Hawaii, and then to Syracuse.
Why would she come here?
I don't know. Maybe she wanted some more snow, and she wanted to play indoors. She was feeling it. 3-0 in singles, didn't drop a set, playing in the top 2 lines all 3 matches, and she goes 2-1 in doubles as well. Orange off to a 3-0 start. How about that?
Yeah, Syracuse has dominated their non-conference slate over each of the last few years, but Eunice Lamam and company, they got to make sure they take care of business because the ACC, just like it is in a lot of the Olympic sports, one of the best conferences for women's tennis in the country. We go from one court to another, though, back to the hardwood for our performer of the week. Number 1, the biggest, Eddie Lampkin, and he had the biggest rebound total. I'm just chuckling myself up here. Biggest rebound total for any Syracuse player in the 21st century. 23 boards. I don't care if Red Autry wasn't impressed. Pitt's head coach, Jeff Capel, was impressed with what Eddie did against his team. He also had 14-9 on the road against Clemson, too. And I really appreciate that Eddie has almost turned it up another gear, Andrew, ever since getting called out on Twitter by the former number 44, Derek Coleman. He's really responded.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was exactly a good move still. I don't think that it's a good idea as an alum to be calling out players within your own program.
I was not condoning it.
But still, maybe it lights a little fire, and Eddie Lampkin is charging down the stretch here. You think he's got 23 more in him?
No. That's a fluke if I've ever seen it. Good rebounder, not a generational one.
That's a career high, and it'll stay that way for the rest of the year from Mr. Lampkin. You know what time it is. Time for your top plays of the week. Let's hit them here on the bench. We got 5 of them for you, and we're going to start on the hardwood again. Felicia Leggett-Jack's group, Kira Scott, spinning jumper. That is silky smooth from the freshman. Take another look at this. Eyes to the other side, then she puts them in the spin move. Spin cycle for 2.
Yeah, it looks like the washing machine is going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Or is that the dryer? I'm not good at laundry. Anyways, JJ doesn't need to spin. He needs to step to his side. Poor Ian Shefflin. And really poor JJ. 25 points in the game, and his team still loses by 14. There's nothing more he could have done in this one. One of his best scoring performances with the Orange and one of his better moves with the team over the last couple of years.
Making chef soup on that one in front of the Ian Shefflin fans down in South Carolina. Number 3, let's hit the ice. Haven't talked about Syracuse women's ice hockey much. This one set up by Bryn Sorella. The breakaway goal from Sammy Gendron. Take another look at this one. She is all alone, and that is easy done on the backhand.
Didn't stick the landing, though. Come on, if you're gonna have the smooth score, you gotta have the celly. You gotta veer the corner.
That's why it's 3, not 1, Ian.
Well, here's 2. Well, Chris Bell, whoop, and they're gone. What a lethal pump fake from Chris, who, yes, has had an up and down season, but made a big 3. That's a good celebration. Luckily, he didn't get teed up for that one. He's got a history of that. Fakes 2 guys, somehow doesn't travel, hits a 3. Syracuse was only down 2, 20 seconds left because of that. They don't get the deal done.
I thought the better celly from Bell was the turnaround low high 5 to his head coach. How about number 1 on the fast break? That is a stuff and then some. Georgia Woolley saying no, no, no down in Tiger Town.
Saying bye, bye, bye.
Oh, yeah.
You know who's saying that song, Andrew?
No. I do not have you covered on that. I had all the answers this show except for that one. Get out of here.
I'll stick to being the pop culture guy.
Get us
That's Andrew Selover. I'm Ian Nicholas. You know what we got to do. We got to play the hits with the images of the week.
Syracuse's 3rd most common opponent has lost 4 in a row. Pitt is in the midst of a tailspin, and the Orange can knock out the Panthers for good. Starling, 3-pointer straight away. It goes.
Again, lose it for a second, kick out more, 3-pointer. Oh yeah, from way downtown in the face of Zach Austin. almost traveled, gathers step, three-pointer, swishes it, and the ball game stays alive.